Hey, I'm Robbie Kramer. You're listening to the Leverage Podcast, where we discuss using your social skills to hack dating, travel, finding your dream job, and becoming a complete man.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're excited for this presentation. I'm pretty excited to give it. And the title is She Interested? How to test for attraction, get physical, and minimize the chance of rejection. So, are you guys sometimes blind to a woman's signals of attraction towards you? Well, I know I sure am. I used to be anyways. So I'll speak from my own experience and admit that until my 20s, I was pretty clueless. And by pretty clueless, I mean very clueless. I mean, I really had no idea if a girl was interested in me, like almost none. So 90% of the time, I acted like the boring nice guy or the inauthentic nice guy. And I erred heavily on the side of caution and typically acted like a wallflower because it was basically safer to do nothing and avoid looking bad versus showing interest in taking a risk. And I think this had something to do with my first attempt at love failing miserably and resulting in a ton of embarrassment for me back in 7th grade. I mean, we all maybe have our, painful, traumatic, crap that happens to us as a kid. But for me, it was, I tried to ask a girl out to be my girlfriend. I was in a school with like 14 kids in my class. I was like the whole 7th grade class. And she said, let's just be friends. And I felt like the biggest loser ever. And I felt everyone was making fun of me. And everyone was, thinking I was such an idiot. But no one ever said anything bad. However, I just, made up all these stories about it. And then I asked a kind of a mentor. He was like a PE teacher, older, cool guy. I told him what happened. He was like, dude, don't ask girls out. Let them ask you out. So I wanted to make sure I never did anything after that for like the next 5 years to show that I was interested in a girl because I didn't want this rejection anymore. So I said 90% of the time I was clueless and acting like a boring nice guy. But the other 10% of the time, I was actually the aggressive, creepy guy in the club. And it was the only place I felt comfortable taking risks. But the only way I knew how to do that was to approach dancing girls, usually from behind, when they weren't really looking. And I would just kind of go up behind and start grinding on them. This was like the way to do it back in the day. I wasn't the only one doing this. There's a lot of idiots that would also do this. But what would happen is they would typically grind with me, or they'd spin away, or their friends would like grab their hand and spin them away and save them. And occasionally this would lead to the rare drunken dance floor makeout. But I was too afraid to approach the girls that I was the most attracted to. So I typically set my standards pretty low to avoid rejection. So, even if I did kind of score with one of these girls in the club that I was grinding on, it wasn't like I wanted to, take anything further because I had these low standards. So I wouldn't get denied. So what really allowed me to change this useless behavior was learning 3 fundamental mindset shifts. And I'm going to go over those today. And the first one is that women aren't attracted to inauthentic nice guys. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. Nothing new there. But you guys are getting this stuff, right? Like, hopefully you guys realize women don't like inauthentic nice guys. The second one is always be testing for attraction. Always, always. Oh, Joseph says, I don't know because women never seem interested in me. All right. Well, thanks for your comment. Oh, where'd my thing go here? Okay. Second one is always be testing for the attraction. And then the third one is view the process as a dance or an exercise in push-pull. We'll get into what that means a little bit later. So, mindset shift number 1. Women aren't attracted to inauthentic nice guys. Don't chase women. When I didn't know what to do, I either did nothing or I attempted to connect with a woman through conversation. And I wasn't a terrible conversationalist, so a connection would often result, but I had no idea how to make that conversation sexy or switch from talking to kissing, so I'd end up pretty stuck and clueless. And the more interested I was in her, the more careful and inauthentic I acted. So if I thought she was really hot, I always self-destructed. And what I mean by chase women is like trying to force them in conversation and just, talk to them, and they'll be interested. So the solution is stop doing that, right? Do not jam her into useless conversation. It really doesn't work. And if you stop doing that, it's going to give the girl a chance to be attracted to you because you're displaying non-neediness. You're setting yourself apart from most guys who immediately chase beautiful women whenever they see them. And she won't really know anything about you aside from your fashion, your body language, and nonverbal tells of confidence. And if these nonverbal signs are working for you, she's going to make up a story about you in her head, and it's probably going to be a good one. If you look good, if your body language is good, dress well, she's going to make up a good story. And this is kind of what girls mean when they say, oh, he's so mysterious. Like they've already made up a story about you, and they're trying to fill in the blanks, but you're a mystery to them. So this process can happen in a matter of seconds. Like if she's interested, she's going to send you signals in the form of a flirty or prolonged eye contact. She's going to look like this picture here: vulnerable body language, flirty smile, eye contact, head tilted down. And you can think of this as an invitation to approach, right? And in an environment where the ratio is stacked in your favor, not chasing is often the only thing you need to do. This is a picture of me and some friends on a trip that we took to the Maldives last year. And, if you don't chase, especially when the other guys are chasing, you're going to really stand out from the pack. And even if the other guys aren't chasing, you're really banking on the fact that the girls will party, they're going to get turned on, they're going to seek attention, and they're going to want someone to hook up with. And the better the ratio, the more likely you'll be their best option. So as you can see in this photo, we were a group of 5 guys, or 6. One of them's not in the photo, and 2 of them aren't in the photo. And it was like 20 girls, I think. So how do you know if she's chosen you or she's considering it? Well, rather than thinking about how to impress people by being interesting, making jokes, or thinking about what to say, you should instead focus on embodying and displaying valuable characteristics and test for attraction. So sometimes you can create those opportunities, and sometimes they're just going to fall in your lap. So that's the next mindset shift. Always be testing for attraction. So let's go over the 10 ways to basically test and see if a woman's interested in you. And I do all of these very unconsciously now. It's just like part of my natural state. But I had to learn all of these, and I had to implement them and get comfortable implementing them. And then they just become part of me, basically. So the first one, does she hold eye contact? If you look at her, does she hold eye contact? Does she immediately look away? Does she avoid eye contact? If she avoids it, she's probably not interested. Right? Does she engage you in conversation and ask you personal questions? If she does, it's a huge sign. Like anytime she seeks rapport, especially if you're not, right? Like if she's just responding to you, that doesn't really count. But if she's initiating and engaging you and asking you personal questions, she's probably interested. Does she touch you back or initiate touch? I used to touch girls a lot and test to see if they would touch me back, but that doesn't work nearly as well as if you just don't touch them, and if they initiate touch on you, then it's almost always a positive signal, and it's a for sure, sign of attraction. Is she comfortable being in isolation with you? If she's one-on-one, is she into that, or is she immediately trying to get away from that? How does she respond if you touch her? Number 6 is a hand-hold test. So if you're holding her hand and you lightly squeeze her hand, does she squeeze it back? It's an old one I got from my pickup 101 days with Lance Mason. Number 7, the whisper test. This one's pretty cool. If you lean in and whisper something into her ear, does she lean in? Right? This kind of stimulates a kiss. So you lean in. If she also leans in, then how does she respond when you enter her personal space? Does she lean in or does she move away? Okay, it's kind of same as the whispering in the ear, but personal space is a little bit different. You can, get close to her. Does she, if you're next to her like this, and you get a little bit closer, so your bodies are almost touching, will she face you? Like, will she move towards you like this? And is she willing to like point her open, vulnerable hips towards you? That's a huge signal. Dancing. Dancing is very easy to tell because it often simulates sex, allows you to get close, touch. So when she's dancing, does she open up her legs? Like, obviously she's not going to, I mean, she might do this, but it's a pretty obvious sign that she's interested. Does she make eye contact when she's dancing? Like this weird, very strange couple. As you close the gap between your lips, does she move in or does she pull away? And if you're able to touch foreheads while dancing, you can almost always feel confident that you could kiss her. It's kind of a old school move. I don't know why more people don't do this, or maybe they do, but it's a great one. So that's all dancing stuff. Number 10, any other situation where physical touch is mandatory or created. Does she move toward or away from that situation with you? Examples would be like, let's say you're riding motorcycles or jet skis together, right? She's got to get really close to you, sit behind you, right? Or if you're playing games like Spin the Bottle or Truth or Dare. Now, notice that 9 out of 10 of these tests are not conversational. They're all physical. And this might be the most important slide in this entire presentation, right? Like the only way to tell if a woman's interested is if she's physical or not. If she's not interested. If she is, then she is. You can't really trust her words. You have to trust her body language. So when to use these tests? So oftentimes I'll invite guys to come on party trips with me for these Playboy model shoots. And when it's their first time, they often feel like a fish out of water. And so, imagine it's you and a few other guys and 3x times the number of models. The number one mistake that every guy makes is attempting to hit on a bunch of girls and engage them in conversation and exchange biographical information. And this is obviously tragic because the ratio is doing all the work for you. Like, you don't need to do anything when the ratio is doing the work. So a much better course of action is to look for ways where you can add value to the group instead. Every group values leaders and decision makers. So if that doesn't work, right, if you don't have any way to show value or add value to the group or lead the group, then your best strategy will be super passive. You can abstain from initiating interactions with the girls that signals anything about you hitting on them. And this, like I said earlier, will make you look like the mysterious guy, and girls will wait for the girls to initiate interactions with you. Remember, this is when the ratio is highly, highly in your favor. Okay? If it's not, we're going to talk about the other thing. So in environments where the ratio is 50-50 or against you, the opposite strategy is the most effective. You need to take risks, initiate interactions, approach women, because there is no need for them to come to you. So start as many conversations as possible and weave in these physical tests throughout. And as I always preach, day game is the most abundant and efficient option for this in most cities. Now, you always want to look for ways you can demonstrate value and stand out amongst the competition, because if your competition is a group of intellectual and overly chivalrous dorky guys that are kind of doing everything for the girls all the time, you'll gain value by not doing those things and attempting to make the girls work for you. So always stand out from the pack. Mindset shift number 3. View this process as a dance or as an exercise in push-pull. Once you've tested for attraction and you've gotten a positive response, you're going to feel a lot more confident making a move. And as you get more and more comfortable with this process, it really creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the result is just more and more confidence. So here's some guidelines for push-pull and kind of what to expect. So let's start with tests 1 through 5. So if she's asking you personal questions, if she's initiating with you, initiating touch and reciprocating touch, she's very likely attracted to you. And as time passes, attraction will increase as you both become more comfortable and connected to each other. So you guys getting this stuff? Is this resonating? Let me check in. Joseph has some questions here. Let's see. What does it mean, inauthentic nice guy? Can you elaborate? Inauthentic nice guy is basically a guy who's doing things he's trying to be nice to a girl because that's how he was trained to get girls to like him, right? It's like, oh, I'll be really sweet and nice to her in an attempt that she wants me, right? Like I'll be nice to them and I hope she's nice and wants to have sex with me, right? But it's fake, right? Because you're only doing it because you want to have sex. You're not actually nice, so it's she can't trust that. So if there's a really good book called No More Mr. Nice Guy, Joseph, if you haven't read that, definitely put that on the list. And then you asked, just like that picture, some parts of it. Let me go back to that one. Okay, so you ask, at what point is her interest just curiosity in you as a person? And at what point is it romantic or sexual? Well, you can, if she's asking you tons of questions and she's talking to you and she's interested, then you don't know for sure if it's romantic or sexual. But if she's touching you, then you pretty much know for sure, right? Especially as you increase the sexuality of these tests, right? If you're holding her hand, you squeeze her hand, she squeezes it back. If you're dancing with her, right? Like the only way to know is the physical stuff. And then you asked, is there a window of opportunity with all of this? If she does something to show interest, attraction, is it important to make a move, or will she feel rejected and close off? Or can you err on the side of caution and wait for the second or third chance? It is important to understand where you're at in the window of opportunity, because it is kind of opening and closing. That this is where push-pull comes in, right? Like all the time you want to be mirroring her and then moving up just like this, push pull, right? So if I start and it's eye contact back, we're in a conversation, she's touching me on my arm, I touch her back, we're sitting closer together, I put my arm around her, she leans into me, I whisper in her ear, she moves in close, I stare at her lips for a second while I'm talking to her, she stares at mine. Now I know I can probably kiss her. But just to test, I hold her hand, I squeeze her hand, she squeezes it back, she squeezes back, then we kiss. Once you kiss, you know, and I'm going to get back to that in a second in the slides here. You know, as time passes, attraction will increase as you both become more comfortable and connected to each other. So from there, you can use tests 6 through 8. And if you pass these tests, like I just mentioned, she's ready to be kissed. So will she hold your hand, whisper test, and how does she respond when you enter her personal space? If you get a green light on all of these, or even on just a handhold test, I always go for the kiss. Now, steps 9 and 10, these are great because they can occur at any stage of the interaction, and you can create them to expedite the process. Remember, dancing was my only move back in the day, and it was the only thing that ever worked because I was completely clueless. And the better dancer you are, the better the results. So like learning dancing is a great way to I don't know, it's just a great kind of tool in the arsenal. I've never done it. I probably should. My first ever kiss was actually in a game of Spin the Bottle. Like I think I was 16 at the temple sleepover party. So, right, like I had to rely on that. And then I think the next time I kissed a girl was a result of Truth or Dare, which was maybe like a year later. And now I really do believe I'm maybe the world's greatest party host, because I've hosted so many of these insane parties, and basically every single night when we're partying, I bust out one of these stupid games, and I can always tell who's attracted to who. And I expedite the process of everyone hooking up by getting people to play these games and making sure that I'm, spinning the bottle in control of when I know Joe spins and it lands on Kelly and I know Kelly likes Joe, I'm going to make sure there's something physical happening to test that. Right. And then the next time I'm going to make sure it's something sexual, and it just expedites the process. Everyone ends up hooking up and fucking because of that. So once you've kissed her, really the cat's out of the bag. Like the kiss is the magic. She's into me. It's for sure. and what happens is the relationship, it immediately changes and it becomes established on a romantic level. I don't care how many amazing conversations you've had. If she cuddles with you every night, if she walks hand in hand with you, if she hasn't kissed you, you can't conclude how she feels about you. And there are no exceptions to this rule. And this is where guys will torment themselves in the friend zone for fucking years and years and years. Like, oh, she's into me. I mean, I've been there. This happened. I thought for sure this girl was going to be my wife. And we'd walk hand in hand. We'd sleep together in bed. She'd even let me grab her boobs. And I thought it was just a matter of time. She just needed to be more comfortable with me. She just, I just needed to build more rapport, but she wouldn't kiss me. And this happened like not that long ago, like 3 years ago, which is pretty fucking pathetic considering my profession. And some girls are really good at pretending that they're into you to get whatever they want. And she's not going to kiss you. She's not into you. And if she doesn't kiss you by second, third date, maybe fourth or fifth, if you're dealing with a really conservative girl, like forget it. It's never going to happen. And once you've kissed, don't immediately push for sex like most horny guys do. You don't want to look overly thirsty. And if she wants it, she's usually going to signal this to you pretty aggressively. She might even flat out tell you. But other times, she needs to feel more comfortable. So if you're like most guys, you're always ready for action. And my best advice is to chill out and just don't push too hard for it, because the sex is going to be better when both of you are really craving it. Because if you push, you might get it faster, but she may also get buyer's remorse, which means that next time, probably not going to get it. And it's going to be the only time sex happens if she gets buyer's remorse. So that really sucks, because sex is always going to get better as time goes on and the more often you have it. So now that Mila's here, we can maybe do some demonstrations on this stuff, but I think you guys get it mostly. I'm going to go back to some of these tests here, and we can kind of go over these. So this is our lovely assistant, Mila.
Hello. Hi.
Okay. So if you're interested in a guy, all right, how would you look at him? What sort of eye contact?
A long time.
A long time?
Yes.
Like so.
Like this.
I don't know if you guys can see. Maybe we can move it a little bit. So you're at my... Okay. So like this?
Yes.
What would you do? Would you do anything else?
No, maybe not.
Oh, biting the lip. That's a good one. Show that. There you go.
Like
okay.
This. Yeah.
And then if we were... Actually, let's just see if she does it. So where'd you go? Just now? Where were you?
What?
Where were you?
Where?
Yeah.
What?
You did. See that? Where were you? Just now.
Here.
No, when you were walking somewhere.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
My friends. My
friends. How was she?
Okay.
Yeah?
So.
Still narcoman? Another one, playing with the hair.
I always play with the hair.
Oh, yeah, you don't always know if she's playing with the hair.
It's not with guy.
Yeah? So, tell me about the conversation with her.
With my friend?
Yeah.
Why you ask?
See? There you go. Another sign. So, I mean, it's... Well, the reason why I was asking is because I knew there's something you would do to signal that you want to fuck me. Like touch me like you did, or come close. Like, so that's what is that on the thing? Does she touch you? Does she initiate touch? Does she hold strong eye contact? How does she respond to your touch? So if I
Hand.
Huh?
Hand. I like hands. I like your hands.
Oh, thanks, baby.
Strong hand.
Okay. Oh, here's some questions from Pussy Eater. So if you're talking to, if you're
I'm not vegetable pussy eater.
if you're talking to a girl in the street and she's smiling, asking personal questions. Okay, so let's say a guy came up to you and he stopped you. Можно с вами познакомиться?
Like you?
How would you, if you were asking him questions?
It's nothing about what he say. If it's like first how he looking.
How he looks?
Yes. It's
See,
not
girls
about
always,
what he say.
It's not about what he
First,
says.
it's about eyes contact.
So he asked, if you're talking to the girl in the street and she's smiling and asking personal questions, how would you escalate from there? Well, let's look at the list, right? So if she's smiling and asking personal questions, does she touch you or initiate touch? So if she doesn't initiate touch, then we don't know. Obviously, she's not comfortable being in isolation with you, so you could ask her on an instant date, right? Hey, let's go get a coffee. If she's interested, she'll probably say yes. If she's not, then she might say no, and then you'll find out for sure when you use the fake number line, right? If you say, hey, let's grab a coffee, it's weird to, like, I don't, hey, it's cool talking to you on the sidewalk. Let's grab a coffee so we're not like fucking standing here like weirdos. Let's go. And you can give her your arm, or you could put your hand out, and if she takes your hand, that's obviously a really good sign.
Maybe it depends of mood too,
Yeah. Well, what do you mean?
Not like-
Your mood?
I don't know. Maybe you don't want to drink coffee right now. You
If
like
you like the guy, and he met you on the street and you didn't have anything to do, and he said, let's go get a coffee, you'd go.
No, I take number.
Why wouldn't you go?
My number.
Why wouldn't you go if you had nothing to do?
I don't know. Maybe I have to do something.
What if you had nothing to do?
More goes than no.
Then you would go.
Yes,
Okay.
like.
No.
But every girl's like not too much speak. Like, give me your number. I like you, or something like this. This works always. Like, you like girl and say, give me your number. I like you. That's all.
That's terrible advice. Don't listen to any of that.
No, really. When it's mean like you.
You can't use this always is.
Not always, of
Yeah.
course. Not always, but it's work.
Okay. All right. Who's got more questions? And is this making sense? If it's making sense, say yes in the chat box. Joseph asks, good shit, coach. Thanks, Nick. How does all of this really translate in work in real life situations? What do you mean? These aren't real life situations. If I'm in a bar or a club with lots of distractions and other guys, girlfriends trying to cock block, how does this work, or does it really only work with certain situations
Cock
where
block?
all of this can plan? This is the worst fucking cock block. So I guess you're asking, well, this is what I went over earlier, right? So if you're in a bar or a club, you're looking for eye contact, and she will give you eye contact if she likes you. Your job is to be well dressed and have social proof. If you can, be there with hot chicks if you can, or if you don't have hot chicks, at least be there with good wingmen, or just be really well dressed as the guy sitting at the end of the bar, and look for eye contact. If a girl gives you eye contact and is flirty eye contact, show the flirty eye contact again. So you see the head tilt. then that's basically your approach invitation, right? And
Yes.
go over, talk to her, and start implementing and weaving these tests through the conversation, right? You're going to be, I go over, hi, how are you?
Now I'm good.
Now you're good. Before you were not good.
Not now, yes.
Now, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
why?
Because of you.
I'm good too. So, I mean, that would be so fucking obvious, right? She's that easy. But she's going to, if you start looking, I guess the main thing I want to point out is, rather than being stuck in your head trying to think of what to say and trying to be witty or trying to do anything.
And compliments, but not primitive one. Not like, oh, you have beautiful eyes.
Stop.
No.
So I can speak to compliments in a second, but only like the only thing I'm looking for is I'm constantly reading her body language, and that's giving me everything I need to know, and I'm mirroring her, and I'm giving opportunities for her to come closer to me with my body language. And I'm gonna, for the conversation, it's going to be light, small talk, banter, whatever, responding to what she's saying. Question filler, as we talk about. I can do a different webinar on conversation skills, but I'm mainly looking for, I'm obviously talking to her, but that's always what I'm looking for. I'm looking for her body language. I'm looking for how she's touching me. I'm looking for physical signs. And if you're never getting physical signs, then it's a sign that women aren't attracted. Right? If nothing's ever happening physical, it means either your approach was bad, you creeped her out, there's too much competition in the bar or nightclub, so she's looking at other guys, right? But I guarantee, you're always going to be getting some attraction from some girls, so you're just not testing enough, or you're not noticing, you're not looking for these things. So really train yourself to look for these physical things. Hopefully that answers your question, Joe. I don't know. Tell me if it does or not. Nick asks, which is lower intensity, whisper or handhold test? Good question. I'm more comfortable with the handhold for whatever reason. There's a lot of situations where you can use it. I don't know why I'm wearing these fucking stupid things. I don't even think we need those. And it's not just handhold here. Let's stand up so we can come and demonstrate this. Like, one thing I'll do a lot is, I'll stand back here. One thing I'll do a lot is like if I'm moving her through a doorway, I'll hold her by the small of the back like this, and I'll see how she responds. Or while we're talking, or while, like, if we're talking and I lean in a little bit and she leans in back, obviously that's kind of the whisper thing. The whisper one is tough because you have to kind of have something in your head about what you're going to whisper to her. Or you could just be like, I forgot what I was going to say. Kind of corny, but you'll get your answer. The other thing I'm doing all the time is, this is important. So if I'm speaking to her like this, right? Scoot back this way a little bit. If I'm speaking to her like this, this is about a comfortable distance if you didn't know me, right? But if I move in like this, it's close, right?
Yeah.
In a loud bar, this is okay, right? But if I'm like this, now it's really close. But tell me which, stand here. Tell me which feels too close.
It's okay.
Still okay?
Yeah.
So I'm literally touching you. I'm touching her, and it feels okay because I'm sideways, or we're lined up. Move like this. And so I always try to get as close as I can, side by side, because it creates so many more opportunities to touch her and for her to touch me. And this zone right here, from the arm to the shoulder, is always it's always like a safe place to touch someone. It's you could do this. It's not a sexual thing.
Yes.
And one stupid little thing I'll do, like if I'm crossing the street, I'll hold out my arm like this. She'll take my arm. And then as we're walking, I might kind of drop my hand and see if she slides it down. Right. And if she's willing to do this and play with the fingers, then it's intimate. So I guess lower intensity, I don't really know which is lower intensity. I guess it depends on how intense you make it. You guys getting this stuff? Making sense? Should I make out with Mila? You can always go for the choke. The choke makeout. Got it. Good dear, no thanks. Okay.
Thanks for listening. If you want more, go to innerconfidence.com and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for the latest episodes.